Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of Sanur Sessions. As you can see, I've got a new sign, looks pretty cool, eh? I'm going to try and keep these Sanur Sessions episodes a little bit more compact and a little bit more concise because I don't want them to stretch out beyond sort of this half an hour mark. I'm going to try and keep them a little bit shorter from now on. Let's get straight into the news. So if you don't know, the weather's been really bad in Bali and Sanur for the past 3 weeks. And on Monday night, there was a full moon and the waves were really high. And unfortunately, it knocked down part of La Playa restaurant. That bit that sort of overhangs the ocean there, it's been underswept. And apparently, I was speaking to Butt Newman down there, and he reckons that it wasn't actually built properly. I don't know, I'm not a construction person, but he reckons that the piles were not deep enough into the sand and it's just undercut it and it's collapsed. It looks pretty dangerous. And luckily, no one was on it at the time that it collapsed, but it's quite bad. And it seems to be happening up and down the beach where things are getting washed away a little bit more. And that ocean seems to be getting up over the path more than it used to. Whether it's global warming or some other issue, I don't know. But at some point, that beachfront path is going to have to be raised significantly. Otherwise, those properties in front of the beach are going to get a bit more storm damage. With the bad weather, there's been a lot of high winds and there's been a few accidents as well. Up on the bypass, there was a few victims there when some trees fell down. We saw that nasty accident where a couple of people were killed in the Ubud monkey forest a couple of weeks ago. That weather is continuing and it's just not great at the moment. So we need to be a little bit careful around the trees. A couple of years ago, I came off a motorbike because a tree fell down in front of me, or a massive rotten branch fell out of the sky and into the road in front of me, and I just locked up the brakes and came off my motorbike. It happens in this bad weather in Bali sometimes where the trees just are maybe a little bit rotten and they'll come down pretty easily. So just be careful out there. A couple of new cafes opening in Sanur, which is really exciting. The first one is Blend Cafe, which is an import from Ubud. It's one of those ultra modern places and it's sort of new for Sanur. We don't really have that many ultra modern places and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to check it out sooner or later and put up a review, but it looks pretty good. I hope it succeeds. The other place is Seta Coffee. Seta Coffee is just next to Salah, near the Hyatt Regency there on Jalan Karangsari. Now, this is something I'm really interested in. I love a new coffee shop. I'm always interested in new coffee, someone trying something a little bit new. I'll check that out soon enough as well. But in the meantime, if you're coming over before I've done a review, make sure you check them out because I think supporting these new businesses is really a great thing to do in Sanur, especially when you've got so much competition from the big mall up the road. We want to support these smaller independent businesses. What's on in Sanur? There's a thing called the New Year's Dive On down at Pantai Mertasari on the 1st of January. It's a New Year's dive, so basically getting in the ocean and having a swim with everyone else. You can register there on the number below through WhatsApp, but it looks, I mean, I haven't been in this thing, I don't know too much about it, but from looking at the photo, it looks like everyone just goes for a communal swim on the 1st of January to ring in the new year. Looks like a pretty cool event. If you're around, register for that, and you know, it's probably something that's interesting to go to. So Hey Ni Hao, which is a little Chinese restaurant down on Jalan Kusumasari, is having another one of their market days. It's like a pop-up market, and what they're saying here is that they'll have stylish clothes for men and women, handcrafted jewelry and fashion accessories, eco print clothes and souvenirs, and I'm sure you'll be able to get something to eat while you're there as well. It's just one of those things. That road actually has a few people doing these more community type events. You'll find that Via has some of these community events as well. That road, Kusumasari, is an interesting one. Check out the Hey Ni Hao pop-up market if you're in town. I think it should be pretty cool. Indonesia Beyond Bali. So while Nusa Lembongan is technically part of Bali, I've just been there and I have to talk about it before I make my big video on it, which is in the pipeline at the moment. A lot of people don't go to Nusa Lembongan even though they're Sanur regulars. A lot of people have never even been there or may have only been on a day trip. I went there for 2 nights, 3 days, which is a pretty short trip, but it was enough. And I have to say, I love Nusa Lembongan. It is absolutely phenomenal. For me, it has that really laid back island vibes, old school Bali, a lot of warungs, a lot of cheaper places to stay. It's actually a lot cheaper to stay there than it is in Sanur. In the video that I'm going to put out in the next maybe week or so, I'm going to go through how to get there, how much it costs, what your budget should be, what the best places to stay are in that whole island, how you get around. It's fantastic. I'm pleasantly surprised. I've only been there once before this, and that was over 20 years ago on a day trip. And I just love that place. I love it, love it, love it. I can't say enough good things about it. I think people should really try and include that as part of their trip to Sanur as well. I think it's worth it. For those of you who don't know anything about it, it's a half an hour to 45-minute boat ride from Sanur. It is quite close to Nusa Penida and is connected to Nusa Ceningan across the Yellow Bridge. It's a fantastic little island that has really been a surfer hangout for many years, and the numbers of tourists have been slowly climbing over the years. And the main draw to the island is its laid back atmosphere, and it really is laid back. I wouldn't want to spend too long there, to be honest, because there isn't really that many things to do. But the food's good, accommodation's good, the people are nice, it's very chilled, and I really love it. So check out Nusa Lembongan. Let's talk about Indonesian food. I want to talk about sambal today more generally. Sambal is a chili accompaniment to food in Indonesia, and the way that it's normally eaten is that you'll have sambal on the side normally, not always, but on the side normally, and you can add as much or as little as you like, depending on how much spice you want in your food. But it's not just about spiciness, it's about flavour. And the different types of sambals you can get really affect the flavour of the food. So you can get sambal terasi, which is a fish-based sambal. You can get sambal tomat, which is tomato-based. Or you can get sambal mata, which is a Balinese raw one. You can get sambal oncom, which is from Jawa Barat or West Java. The city of Bandung, where I spent 12 years, is famous for sambal oncom. Oncom is a more fermented and rotten tempeh, if you like. So you get tempeh from soybeans, and that's sort of like, you've got a bit of mold and stuff on it. Well, you go even further than that and you get oncom. Now, it sounds disgusting, but it has a very, very interesting flavour. It's fantastic. Sambal oncom, unreal. Now, I highly recommend that if you're into spicy food even a little bit, to try and differentiate between the different sambals you might get around town when you're in Sanur or Bali more broadly. Let's talk about the weather. Now, the weather, as I said earlier, it has been absolutely atrocious in Bali over the past about 3 weeks. The rainy season is here in full effect, and it's the worst rainy season I've ever experienced in Indonesia in my, 14 or 15 years here. And Susan, my wife, she says it's probably one of the worst that she's ever experienced. She's experienced one that she remembers maybe, I think, 2009, 2010, around that sort of time frame, when it was very bad for multiple weeks. But what's happening right now is the rain is incessant. Every day it has been raining, every day, and not just in the afternoon as you'd normally expect. It's been morning, noon, and night as well, and it's been difficult to get out and do things. I normally go out in the morning to run, and it's really disrupted my schedule for running. I know if you're here on holidays, you might want to go for a walk along that beach path, or you might want to go to a restaurant. It will definitely be interrupting your activities at the moment. I just hope that the weather calms down a little bit over the next month or so, because a lot of people are coming here over the Christmas holidays, and I just think if it doesn't improve, it could be quite bad for a lot of people, because you will be stuck inside your hotel room. There's no doubt about it. It is that bad. We can all cope with a day or two of rain, or we can cope with an afternoon of rain. That's just normal in the wet season. But when it's for weeks on end and it's every day for almost a whole day, like it has been recently, it's terrible. Yesterday was okay. It did rain still, but we had a few breaks in the weather where you could get out and about, but still, it's an exception rather than the rule for the past 3 weeks. Let's talk about property. As you might already know, I'm on a property search myself, and I've been looking at places physically over the past couple of weeks. I've seen a few interesting places. I even put an offer on a place that was rejected. I even negotiated pretty hard, and the guy didn't want to reduce his price at all. So, I mean, it's difficult. If someone's not going to be flexible with their pricing, I'm not going to deal with someone who's not flexible. And I guess that's a bit of a lesson. If you're coming over to Bali and you want to negotiate a property, you've got to be a little bit wary about some people that are asking too much for their properties and not willing to negotiate. There are properties out there, and it is a bit of a slog, and you do need to be patient. But if people aren't negotiating with you, just go somewhere else and find something else, even if you love the property. We don't know what we're going to get yet, whether it's freehold, leasehold, or even yearly rentals again. But here are a couple that took my fancy just recently. So this first property is an interesting one up in Sedap Malam. Sedap Malam's a little bit further north, a little bit back from the beach as well. It's for those people who are looking for something a little bit more affordable, but still within the, within the broader area of Sanur. This place, Sedap Malam, is actually closest to Denpasar, which is convenient if you need to go into Denpasar to some of the malls or the shops, or you've got bureaucracy type things to do there, but also quite close to Sanur that you can get there on a motorbike or in a car within about 10 minutes. What they're saying is it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom property on a 65 square metre piece of land, which is quite small. A 71 square metre property, because it's 2-storey, you get 71 square metres, which is quite small, like a small apartment. But what's interesting about it is that it's being advertised for 75 million per year if you take it for 5 years. Now, what's interesting about that is that price is just sensational. It's the equivalent of around about $600 Australian, or 6 million rupiah per month over the course of 5 years. It's unbelievable value. It's got 2 air conditioners, it's got Wi-Fi connected, there's a garage that can fit a small car and a motorbike, it's a balcony, a terrace, a kitchen. It's got electricity. The electricity is probably a little bit low. They say it's 2,200 watts. And for most Westerners, without the sort of appliances that we use, like kettles and air fryers and stuff, you probably want to increase that to a minimum of 3,500, maybe even more than that. The house that I'm in at the moment has 7,700, and I definitely need it with the air conditioners going and Susan firing up all the different kitchen appliances. But when I was in Bandung, I had 3,500, and that was pretty much enough. It was only occasionally that the electricity would go off because I overloaded it. But just looking at the photos of this place, it's a cute little place. I mean, for the price, you can't go wrong. I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, I'm almost tempted to go and get it myself. It's something that you would need to look at in person if you came and wanted to sign a lease for it. But these sorts of things are available. You have to be patient, and you have to be looking in the different forums and this sort of thing, because there are a lot of sharks out there that are overcharging for these sorts of places as well. But this place, love it. But at the other end of the spectrum, look what you get for 9 billion rupiah for a 30-year lease. Now, if you're maybe already 65 and a 30-year lease is going to see you until you're 95, it might be worthwhile if you've got a bit of cash. You're going to need a significant amount of cash because it's 9 billion rupiah, but it looks fantastic. I just wanted to sort of show you as a counterpoint to some of the cheaper places. So what you get for your money on this one is a beachside location. The land size is 660 square meters, which is absolutely massive for Sanur. And just look at the size of that pool. I mean, you can do massive laps in it. The property, like the building itself, is just huge. It's actually 260 square meters inside. It's got 3 bedrooms. It's got en suites. It's the sort of the living room sort of semi-open. They've got kitchen, dining room, everything facing the pool, like a really big entertaining house. Now, not everyone's going to have the money for something like this, but if you do and you want to come and live in Sanur, this is what's available to you. And it's luxury. It really is luxury. The only fear that a lot of people have about these long leases is that it's a declining asset. But if you don't really care about your assets being eroded away over the years, which if you're getting older, it may not be a big deal for you anyway, well, this is certainly something that you should be looking at. I don't really like these leasehold or long lease arrangements, but I've been sort of thinking about it a little bit more, because if you don't have kids and you don't have someone to inherit your wealth, or if you don't care about inheritances, or you've got a little bit of extra money, they can make sense. And the type of properties that are available on long lease are generally better than what is available on a freehold arrangement. Most foreigners can't get freehold anyway. I can, because I'm married to an Indonesian. But this leasehold arrangement, I mean, this one in particular looks absolutely phenomenal. Like, I would love to live there. I just don't have the cash for it. Let's do Q&A. Now, Brattles 1989 asks a really interesting question. Does chili counteract Bali belly? Well, the short answer is no. And if you're sensitive to chili, it actually makes it a whole lot worse. I know that Bali belly really is one of these things that we talk about a lot, but it's really ill-defined because it's not really anything. It just means an upset stomach and maybe getting a bit sick. What I've been told is that most of the Bali belly that people get is from incorrect food handling procedures. Perhaps the chicken's been left out too long, or people not washing their hands after going to the toilet and preparing your food. They're the main things. And if you get Bali belly, it can be pretty bad. It's very difficult to get an immunity to it. I know I still do get sick from Bali belly occasionally, not as much as I used to. Susan, my wife, never does. She's probably grown up with that immunity and probably will never get really sick. But locals can die from it. If you've got a compromised immune system, you're young or old, it can really affect you. And I know that getting these bad infections is really, really terrible for older people. So building a tolerance to it is part of it, but really you should try and avoid dirty food in the first place. And if you're suspicious that a place is not very hygienic, don't go there. But it's very difficult without looking at a kitchen of a place to know whether they're doing hygienic things or not, whether it's modern or a warung. To be fair, I've been done by more modern places more often than I've been done by warungs. And when it comes to chili, just take a little bit at a time. You know, if you're only coming to Bali for the first time, only have a little bit, see how your body goes, and then build up your tolerance. But if you have too much, you're going to have problems. Let me assure you. Harold T. Zemis, I think that's how you say it, asks about where to find a good massage in Sanur. Now, I'm not an expert on massages in Sanur, but Susan does recommend the Nest for its spa experience down on the beach there. It's probably the most well-known spa in all of Sanur. The other place that we've tried out and I enjoy too, it's a bit cheaper, it's called Penny Wenny. It's quite far south in Sanur. I really like that place. But as I said, it's a cheaper place, not as luxurious as the Nest. So you've got to choose what you really want. If you want to pay a bit extra, go to the Nest. If you're on a budget, go to Penny Wenny. Noel Gokel asks about whether you get the prices I'm quoting for a lot of hotels, whether you get those prices during Christmas time. The short answer is no. At Christmas time, hotels in Sanur get fully booked or are quite, the occupancy is very high and prices are higher. But that's similar anywhere around the world. If you're going at Christmas time to anywhere in Bali, it's going to be more expensive. That's just the way it is. Sorry. Leo Cruz asked, do I need a motorbike license to ride around on a scooter in Bali? Now, the short answer is yes, you do. The more complicated answer is that it's quite difficult because not only do you need a motorbike license from your home country, you also need an international driving permit, which is available from your local automobile association like NRMA, RACV, AAA, that sort of thing. But it's also possible for foreigners to get a local motorbike license down at the Denpasar police station. Now, it is a complicated process, a very complicated process, but it is possible. And it's been happening for, 50 years that foreigners have been getting motorcycle licenses in Bali, so they're fully legal. But what I really would recommend is don't try and ride around Bali unlicensed. Most foreigners, I think, are doing it unlicensed, but it just causes so many headaches. If you have an accident, you're uninsured, it's just not worth it. Really, the police are going to target you. If you don't have a license, the police are going to target you. And of course they are. They would in any country in the world. Don't drive around unlicensed. I really highly recommend getting your motorcycle license in your home country and bringing an international driving permit or getting a local motorcycle license. Miria dos Santos asks, can you smoke in Bali? Not only can you smoke in Bali, it's for the locals, it's almost a must. Everyone smokes in Bali. I'm not a fan of smoking, but if you're a smoker, it's cheap to smoke here. The rules are a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, smoking, very big in Indonesia. In fact, they have one of the highest smoking rates in the whole world. Advertising standards are completely different to other places in the world. Whether that's good or not, well, I'm not one to judge, but if you want to judge it for yourself, please do. That's about it for my short and sweet Sanur sessions for this week. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanur. I'll catch you next time.